global warming. The politicized science establishment signed on to the alleged peril of global warming. This so-called warming of the earth is, at the beginning of the 21st century, called a threat to the survival of the planet. According to the experts, drastic measures must now be taken to avert an ecological disaster. What is the cause of this terrible threat? The experts rationalize the cause of global warming must certainly be attributed to man-made pollution, and in particular industry and manufacturing. Business and even human consumption, therefore, must be monitored and more heavily regulated. What is the basis for these assertions? Nothing but a lot of hot air. In fact, the assertions are based on nothing but a lot of talk because the global air temperature is not any significantly warmer or cooler than it has been since the inception of weather records. Today is March 5th, 2015 AD. Well, feels like it's maybe January or early February. We're hoping spring comes, but we'll see what happens. The surface temperature record shows a warming rate of about 0.17 degrees Celsius, 0.31 degrees Fahrenheit, per decade since 1979. And this after a reported global cooling trend. The experts claim are rooted in speculation and without fact. They certainly are not based on any honest scientific evidence. This is, as we see time and time again, the modus operandi, the method of operation of politicized science. The truth about global warming is that it is a political accommodation paid for by the world's elite promoting their plan to put into operation a new world order. Its affirmation by politicized scientists is simply a propaganda effort to help prevent opposition from an honest but uninformed citizenry. Because of their controlling power of the media, the global warming theory has become a legitimate fact in the eyes of much of the world. Is it a coincidence that the media always affirm and never question the experts who promote the causes of the elite? As Dean Martin and John Wayne said in one of their cowboy pictures to the friendly talking bad guy who was guilty of killing their father but wasn't yet fully found out because of his high position in town, although increasingly suspected. You wouldn't know who the no good dirty lying rat who killed our Paul was, would you, Mr. Big? In other words, what Dino and the Duke were saying, if you want to uncover the truth about someone, what a person does tells more than what he may say, even if that person is regarded as important. In much the same way, the media may have an important position in the world, but that does not make them necessarily good or innocent of wrongdoing, especially if they are controlled by those who are disobedient to God. This show will make the assertion repeatedly that the media is controlled. After all, if God-fearing men controlled the media and education establishment, no one would even know who Charles Darwin was, much less study him. It is not only reasonable to conclude that the communication arm of the elite is the media, but it is our duty to understand this fact and act upon it. For those who think it is far-fetched to claim the media is controlled, one has to simply look no further than to the former Soviet Union under Lenin, or Nazi Germany under Hitler, or Iraq under Hussein, or Cuba today under Castro, or Zimbabwe today under Mugabe, and ask, do you think those who run the schools, newspapers, radio, and TV stations in those countries could then and can today teach, report, and air programs that are against the ideology of each respective government? The media and education of a nation can most assuredly be controlled, and yes, even here in the United States.
The Word of God, Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself, upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven." And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind." And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
listen on as the case is made that the media and education of the United States is controlled by those who hate the Christian-based constitutional republic this nation was founded upon. The true motive of global warming as a result of the political and media barrage, global warming is beginning to be used to hamstring business, suppress freedom, and limit energy use in an organized effort to destabilize the Western world's economy. The elite eventually planned to weaken the West to such a deteriorating degree so as to consolidate the entire world into a secular, in other words, an anti-Christian, one world government. Right on cue, the National Academy of Sciences started way back in June of 2001, global warming, they quote, is a real problem caused at least in part by man-made pollution building up in the atmosphere and trapping heat like a blanket, unquote. Is that statement true? We have already shown that the National Academy of Sciences are, for the most part, made up of a group of atheistic scientists who, by their refusing to believe in their creator, fabricate, deceive, and lie to promote anti-Christian political agendas. However, if an honest person did not know that they speak with forked tongues, then he might go along with the Academy's propaganda and call for an end to man-made pollution. This would be done, as they say, to save the earth from global warming. The government, our so-called protector, will protect Mother Earth against all polluters, especially those mean guys who run businesses and manufacturing plants.
One of the most outspoken advocates on global warming and climate change is the former Vice President of the United States and former Senator from Tennessee, Al Gore. His movie, An Inconvenient Truth, caused a hailstorm of praise from pro-global warming and well-funded scientific organizations and pro-environmentalist groups around the world. They heaped accolades on Spotted Al for his in-depth scientific research, which showed beyond a shadow of a doubt that global warming was being caused by man-made activities. His scientific facts showed catastrophic environmental events like the polar ice caps melting and the sea level rising, all because of excessive carbon emissions. After the glamour of his movie subsided, many began to look into the data used and discovered grossly negligent statistics that were used as facts that blatantly disregarded truthful historic data while fabricating statistics to substantiate global warming claims. Interestingly enough, there has surfaced an almost unheard of phenomenon which takes place whenever Al Gore travels to speak on global warming or when a climate change conference is scheduled in a city. It's being called the Gore effect, and what happens is absolutely astounding. Right before or after a global warming summit or convention is scheduled to take place in a city, that city experiences unseasonably low or record-breaking temperatures. The Gore effect was first noted in January of 2004 when Al Gore visited Boston and New York to deliver a global warming speech, and severe cold temperatures followed after him. Boston experienced its lowest temperatures in almost 50 years, while New York was hit with almost a minus 40-degree wind chill. In 2007, Al was in Los Angeles, where he was nominated for an Oscar, and snow fell in West Los Angeles and in Malibu. The previous snowfall was in January of 1962. That's according to the National Weather Service. February 2007, a subcommittee on energy and air quality was postponed due to inclement weather. The hearing was entitled Climate Change: Are greenhouse gas emissions from human activity contributing to a warmer planet? Then in October of 2008, snow fell for the first time in London since 1922. At the same time, a global warming bill was being debated in the city. Gore then visited Harvard in October of 2008, where temperatures dropped to 44 degrees Fahrenheit. It was predicted to drop to 34 degrees, close to the record low of 28 degrees, which was recorded in 1940. Then he visited Milan, Italy in December of 2008 and gave a speech on global warming and how to not dismiss the warning signs of how it is so important to act now as snow began to fall outside. In keeping with the trend of plummeting temperatures, Al next visited Melbourne in 2009 of January for the launch of Safe Climate Australia. The city experienced icy weather and some temperatures dropped below zero. Then during the Copenhagen Climate Conference in December of 2009, over 4 inches of snow fell, while temperatures dropped below 25 degrees Fahrenheit, not including the windshield. Copenhagen then predicted a white Christmas, which had only occurred 7 times in the last 100 years. This embarrassing phenomenon has also occurred in hot climates. One such example happened in Cancun, Mexico. In December of 2010, as representatives from 200 countries met in Cancun to strategize ways to keep the Earth from getting warmer, 100-year record lows were taking place. For 6 straight days, low temperatures gripped the city, thus solidifying the Gore effect as a strange new phenomenon. We'll keep you posted on more Gore effects as they occur.
When thought about logically, even an unaware person should realize that to accomplish this goal, the government must act in a way that would increase governmental power, undermine sovereignty, limit the freedom of the individual citizen, and weaken private enterprise. They would soon pass laws and regulations that would be injurious to not just the United States, but the entire world economy. According to the elite, global warming is a global problem. If it is then a global problem, the world must count on a global solution. According to scientists, educators, and media representatives representing governments the world over, global law must be enacted as soon as possible to save the world from the imminent threat of a warming Earth caused by cars and factories and cooking too many hamburgers. The legitimacy or illegitimacy of global warming then becomes an important issue. If global warming is false, politicians are exploiting a scientific charade to sign global government initiatives forwarded by a global government entity to limit and control this and every individual's nation's business, industry, and everything else.
And researchers at the Naval Postgraduate School have told us that the entire Arctic ice cap, which for most of the last 3 million years has covered an area the size of the lower 48 states, may completely and totally disappear in summer in as little as 5 years. Salmon have now disappeared off the coast of California. Researchers are now working to determine the cause and whether or not this is due to acidity and the relationship between acidity and the so-called dead zones of extreme oxygen depletion that now stretch from the west coast of North America, Central America, and South America almost all the way across the Pacific in a wedge that stretches to the west. A number of new studies continue to show that climate change is increasing the intensity of hurricanes.
Smoke's coming from my mouth now because it's getting colder. It's supposed to go to 8 degrees tonight. Here's a newspaper to tell you what day it is. Yeah, give it to me, friend. Let's see here. Let's see where the date is. Here we go. Wednesday, March 4th, 2015. Right there. I think we got a foot out here, and it's still snowing. Icicles are forming. That means the temperature is below freezing. We got some problems with global warming, folks. Each snowflake is created by God, and it's unique. There's no two snowflakes that are the same. I was watching one of the weather channels, and they were flip-flopping, thinking there could be two, but they weren't sure. But we know that they're not. Just like you, individually, you were uniquely made by God. He stitched you in your mother's womb, and He's made you as you are. You got your own fingerprint. You got your own DNA. No one else has it. You were made special from God.
Is it possible to mix science with a belief in God? Aren't they as incompatible as oil and water? After all, the prevailing notion taught by the academic establishment today is that truly scientific minds don't fall for the nonsense of religion. Well, it turns out that forcing science and Christianity into isolation from one another is a fairly recent invention. In fact, the founders of modern science actually used their devout faith in biblical Christianity as a springboard. Kepler, for instance, the father of physical astronomy, believed, quote, "only and alone in the service of Jesus Christ. In Him is all refuge and solace." Kepler, a household name even today for his laws of planetary motion that provided the basis for Newtonian physics, wrote, quote, "Since we astronomers are priests of the highest God in regard to the book of nature, it befits us to be thoughtful, not of the glory of our minds, but rather above all else, of the glory of God." No stranger to theological skepticism, even in the 15th century, Kepler debated an atheist colleague by telling him a model of the solar system he had constructed, quote, "just happened. A strong wind must have come in and blown around laboratory debris, dust, and other particles from outside. Somehow, this elaborate model is the result." Following the atheist colleague's incredulous retort, Kepler offered a creative defense of Christianity that still resonates today. Quote, "Yet you're willing to believe that the actual solar system, with its unspeakable complexities, simply created itself. Now that is ridiculous." More recent looks at the solar system have yielded the same conclusion. An actual rocket scientist, Dr. Wernher von Braun, the leading founder of the American space program, wrote, quote, "As I became exposed to the law and order of the universe, I was literally humbled by its unerring perfection. I became convinced that there must be a divine intent behind it all. My experiences with science led me to God. As a result of von Braun's work on moon missions, the Apollo project was launched, and astronauts Jim Lovell, Frank Borman, and William Anders were the first men in history to circle the moon in 1968. There, they proclaimed the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. When challenged by a Soviet cosmonaut who sarcastically stated he didn't see God in space, Frank Borman responded, quote, "I did not see him either, but I saw his evidence." Jack Louisma, another astronaut, wrote, quote, "If I can't believe that the spacecraft I fly assembled itself, how can I believe that the universe assembled itself? I'm convinced only an intelligent God could have built a universe like this." And Robert Boyle knew some 400 years ago that the order of the universe reflected God's purposeful design. Boyle was arguably the founder of modern chemistry and a passionate follower of Jesus Christ. He wrote, "Our Savior would love at no less rate than death, and from the supereminent height of glory, stooped and debased himself to the sufferance of the extremest of indignities, and sunk himself to the bottom of abjectness to exalt our condition to the contrary extreme." Boyle's faith and scientific career were integrated. He was active in financially supporting the spread of Christianity. His enduring legacy includes an endowment left in his will for an annual lectureship to combat atheism. These Boyle lectures are still held every year. From 14th century Europe through the Enlightenment and into the space age, the founders of modern science were students of God's Word in addition to God's world. Their frame of reference superseded mere observation, and as a result, they were granted a remarkable ability to connect the dots. Their aim was ultimately to discover more about the Creator, not merely the creation.
Please view our YouTube account at Greater Than Gold to see what I mean. You might want to check out one or more of our programs, or perhaps even get involved in the debate in the comments section. By the way, if you would like to order a DVD copy of this program or any of our programs, do not hesitate to call us. InGodWeTrustProd.com. We will, the good Lord willing, send you out one or more programs on DVD free of charge and postage paid.